Brandon Aiyuk had a great season last year. But over the last couple of years, Brandon Aiyuk has been fighting injuries. And that's why a lot of people are hesitant to give Brandon Aiyuk that kind of money. He also plays with talented players like George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. He's got a ton of weapons. So I know Deebo Samuel wasn't 100% healthy last year. He had that shoulder problem, and he was out for a significant amount of time. But people forget, when you have those kind of weapons on the field, you're going to either double team one of those guys and leave those guys open, or leave them one-on-one. And Brandon Aiyuk last year was left one-on-one a lot more than Deebo Samuel was and George Kittle was. So obviously he put up those numbers because of that. He plays with a bunch of talented players. He also plays in Kyle Shanahan's offense, a wide open offense. They like to spread it out and use the wide receivers in many different slants and many different combos. But the Patriots, obviously with a new coach, a defensive-minded coach, how would that work? Well, Brandon Aiyuk would automatically be the number one guy. Brandon Aiyuk has never been the number one guy. Never been the number one guy with the 49ers. So that puts him in a situation now where teams are going to double team him. Teams are going to, and you saw what Kansas City did to him in the Super Bowl, okay? Kansas City absolutely put their best guy, their best defensive player, their best DB on him throughout the game, and then had a safety run under. And he couldn't do anything in the Super Bowl. What did he have? 10 yards in the game, 11 yards in the game. He did not play well in the Super Bowl because he was used as a decoy in that game. And again, you look at Brandon Aiyuk and his talent. Last year he was a top 5 quarterback, top 5 wide receiver. There's no question that he was. When you look at all the guys, Justin Jefferson, before he got hurt, he was on his way to having a 2,000-yard season, especially the way he was playing. And then you look at CeeDee Lamb and you look at Tyreek Hill. If you look at the top 5 guys, Brandon Aiyuk was amongst the top 5, top 6 guys. Now, would I put Brandon Aiyuk in my top 6, top 7? No. As a matter of fact, I would take Deebo Samuel over Brandon Aiyuk. But Brandon Aiyuk had a sensational year, and you can't argue that. And anybody that's going to argue that would be lying. But I want to see Brandon Aiyuk do that back-to-back years before anybody negotiates a deal where he's going to be paid a top 5 wide receiver. And again, Adam Schefter obviously knows that there's no way in hell the 49ers are keeping him on this team. They brought in Pearsall. They drafted him in the first round. Now, Pearsall and Brandon Aiyuk played, I think, for the same college. They know each other very, very well. I'm not positive. But
no, Pearsall was with Florida.
All right, so Pearsall knows Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk and him are very good friends. He was very excited when Pearsall came to the team and when they drafted him in the first round. But again, you sit here today and you wonder why they drafted a wide receiver in the first round. Well, now you know, because they knew they weren't going to renegotiate a deal that would have made Brandon Aiyuk one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league, especially giving Deebo Samuel the money that they gave him a year before that and giving George Kittle an extension too. So, and Christian McCaffrey signing an extension this offseason too, a two-year extension that made him the highest paid running back in the NFL. So they're starting to divvy out the money, and you see Williams wanting a big amount of money. He wants an extension too. After getting an extension a couple of years ago, he wants big money. Trent Williams, who's one of the best offensive linemen in the league, if not the best left tackle in the league, you're gonna have to decide who you want to keep. Now, it's very hard to find left tackles, and right now, still Trent Williams at the age of 38 is one of the elite left tackles in the league. If Trent Williams doesn't play this year, or he sits out for most of the preseason like he's claiming to do, they're going to have to find a way to make a guy like Trent Williams happy. They're not going to be able to give Trent Williams a significant amount of money in a contract, or trying to renegotiate his contract and pay Brandon Aiyuk after giving Christian McCaffrey money. Now, you don't have to pay Brock Purdy for at least another year or two. So that gives them an opportunity to give those extensions to Christian McCaffrey and obviously Deebo Samuel last year and George Kittle. But again, they're going to have to decide what they're going to do and who they're going to trade Brandon Aiyuk to and what they're going to get for him. I don't think they're getting a first-round draft pick for him. But if you can get a second and a fourth for him, I think you win on that trade. And a team like the 49ers that traded away a ton of draft stock for a guy that is no longer on the team, a quarterback that is the backup or the third string quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys right now, and Trey Lance, they need to get back some of that draft stock that they lost in that trade. Now, obviously, the 49ers have done well. They did well in the draft this year. John Lynch is a smart guy. Kyle Shanahan knows what to look for in his offense and his defense. But again, this is an organization that needs to stock back up some young prospects and start building around some of the players that they've lost over the last couple of seasons to free agency.